All right, well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Barry Goldsmith. I'm the Warning Coordination Meteorologist here at the National Weather Service Brownsville, Rio Grande Valley office. And we'll get started with this afternoon's webinar. Thanks, everyone, for joining up. And we'll get right to it, and then we'll open it up for questions at the end. We'll begin with the overview. Cold air continuing to surge across the Rio Grande Valley and deep South Texas ranch country through early Friday. An upper level disturbance shown here with the black arrow will allow rain to develop later this Thursday evening. The rain will likely change to a wintry mix of sleet and ice across locations north of the valley and mix with or possibly change to ice and sleet across parts of the populated valley toward daybreak on Friday, continuing through mid-morning. Then precipitation should change back to rain before ending across the ranch country before noon and the valley by early to mid-afternoon, again on Friday. So our bottom lines for this event haven't changed much since we were here last on Wednesday afternoon. The sharp changes here. Feels like temperatures are now in the low to mid-30s across the region, which makes it 50 degrees colder feeling than it was at this time on Wednesday. We expect that to continue to fall below freezing by sunset for most. Now, those feels like temperatures will drop to between 20 and 25 overnight tonight, and then continue below 30 through at least noon on Friday, before rising into the upper 20s to mid-30s in the afternoon, especially from Brooks and Hidalgo County to points east. We think those values will rise a little bit higher farther west, where the ceiling or base of the clouds rises higher and some of that sun energy gets through after the rain has ended. So it'll be a little better out west in Zapata, parts of Jim Hogg and Starr County by mid-afternoon on Friday. Unfortunately, the main issue is the wintry precipitation. Well, let's talk about the two areas in detail here, and we'll go over that much more over the slides to come. So for the ranch country, again, a mix of ice, which is rain freezing on contact, and sleet, that's the melted snow that refreezes before reaching the ground, is expected to develop across the Rio Grande Plains, brush country, Brooks, Kenedy, and northern Hidalgo, inland Willacy County ranch and farm country around midnight and continue through mid-morning Friday. We might even see some light snow, more of a conversational snow, with minimal accumulation possible in northern Zapata and northern Jim Hogg County due to the atmosphere getting just a little bit colder up there, but it won't really change the impact of the icing and the ice pellets. For the populated Rio Grande Valley, we have a likelihood now of some icing, perhaps mixed with sleet, extending into the traditional cold drainage locations between 5 a.m. and 9 a.m. Friday. We'll go over that shortly. Otherwise, if you're planning boating, it's a rough go out there. The seas are up to 10 feet. Winds are gusting over 34 knots or 39 miles per hour, and that will continue through the night and probably into early Friday as well. So let's go over the timeline in detail. So the rest of today, we're already there. Sharply colder, feels like temperatures dropping off, as we mentioned earlier. There have been some patchy light rain or drizzle in the lower valley. That may start up again in the next few hours, but the good news is for those working on the roads, it's pretty dry out there, particularly from the mid-valley all the way up to the ranches, and that will be the case right on through sunset. And then the fun begins overnight. So a cold rain will develop probably by 9 or 10 p.m. And those feels like temperatures will continue to fall below 30 as the air temperatures fall into the 30s. And then the difference between the actual temperature and the dew point temperature or measure of humidity is such that we think that as the rain falls, it will cool the air mass further and allow a changeover to ice or sleet across the Zapata through Kenedy Ranch country by 11 o'clock or midnight, somewhere in that range. And then there may be that snow mixing in, as we mentioned before, across northern Jim Hogg and Zapata. For the populated valley, we expect some light icing or sleet to develop or mix in with the rain, mainly along and north of Interstate Highway 2, a bit later in time on this, from 5 to 9 a.m. on Friday. But in all areas, those feels like or wind chill temperatures will be dropping to 20 to 25 degrees after midnight and will continue right on into Friday. And speaking of Friday, the wintry precipitation will end or taper off by 9 a.m., but potentially as late as noon in the east, depending on how cold it can stay. Friday morning, between 5 and 9 a.m. will be the worst of this whole event. Feels like temperatures 20 to 25, a pretty widespread area of this mixed wintry precipitation. And the cold temperatures continuing all the way through noon, with the actual temperature struggling to rise out of the upper 30s to the lower 40s, especially from the Rio Grande Valley population centers, McAllen East, and then northward to Falfurrias and to Sarita and Kenedy County. As I said before, a little bit of higher sky will allow temperatures to rise into the 40s, we think, across parts of southern Jim Hogg, Star, and much of Zapata County. So that's some good news for them. So graphically, the coldest feels-like temperatures, as we mentioned before, 20 to 25, coldest near the coast. Why? Because the winds will be strongest near the coast. And then even at noon on Friday, still 24 to 30, but once again, 25-ish near the coast where the winds will be strongest, the clouds will be lowest, and it will still probably be raining a little bit. So a pretty rough go, but again, getting a little better as you get farther west into Star, Zapata, southern Jim Hogg as we move later into the afternoon. Real quick, our warnings and advisories that are in effect. Winter storm warning for accumulations or accretions of ice or ice pellets. Even that conversational snow could matter across the entire area except the immediate coast of Willacy and Cameron County. The wind chill advisory, we issued those for values below 30 across the valley and below 25 across the ranches. And as we saw before, 20 to 25 everywhere meets that advisory criteria. So the wintry precipitation summary in detail. First, we'll talk about the ranch lands from Zapata to Kenedy County. This also includes northern Star and northern Hidalgo in the pink-colored area on the left slide. Best opportunity for the ice accretion occurs in this area, as we mentioned before, and our confidence is now high that we're going to see this. All the indicators are there, so you need to be prepared for that, especially across these northern counties. Our timing, midnight to 9 a.m. There is a buffer. It could start as early as 11 p.m. tonight and end as late as 11 a.m. on Friday. Now, for the bigger population area, the Rio Grande Valley, the difference between today and yesterday is that we have more likelihood now of icing and some sleet mixed in. We prefer those cold drainage locations in southern Star from Westlaco to north of Harlingen. That would include Combs and Santa Rosa, Elsa Edcouch. Then Hidalgo north of Edinburgh and Alton, possibly extending down to La Jolla. So Edinburgh, San Manuel, Lynn, all those areas would be involved here. And of course, we already know that Ravenville will be part of the mix. Our confidence has risen from low to medium. We do think we're going to see some of this action. Our timing is now honed down from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. with a buffer just in case it comes early as 3 a.m. and possibly continuing as late as 11 a.m. on Friday. So threat levels, we just increased the cold and wintry precip a little bit into the red for the area-wide situation. Boating is the same. We're at the moderate threat as people see the gales, and they hopefully aren't out there. And rainfall, again, welcome. The liquid is welcome and the moisture itself, but it won't be anything to worry about regarding flooding. So your key takeaways, once again, this will be the coldest period of the 2021-2022 season so far. But again, not a repeat of February 14th through 20th, 2021, which is last year. People, pets, and plants should be prepared and protected now from the cold, not only this afternoon and evening, but right on through Saturday morning. Now, motorists planning travel that may include elevated roads and bridges should postpone that travel mainly from midnight tonight through midday Friday, especially across locations north and west of the populated valley. Now, I will say that if you're traveling on roads that are against the earth, those temperatures will be warm enough to keep whatever falls wet, so that driving won't be as impacted. But if you're going any type of bridge, fly-by highway, etc., that's where our biggest concern is. But we do know that TxDOT is doing a lot of treatment work, which should help the cause there as well. Now, motorists should remain alert to light icing on elevated road surfaces across the populated Rio Grande Valley between 5 and 9 a.m. on Friday, that's tomorrow. We do expect some minor power outages likely due to the heavy use of heating across the entire area and some stress on the grid from that, but there's also some possibilities that we could see enough icing on some power lines, mainly along and north of Interstate 2, to cause a bit of this problem. But regardless of what we see with power outages, it will not be a repeat of February 2021. But if you're out for an hour or two, don't be surprised given this event later tonight through midday Friday. And with that, we'll go on to our safety tips one more time. You saw this one yesterday. This is in the slide, so I'll go through it pretty quickly. We want people to really be safe with the space heaters as we are now in the cold, and that will continue right through Saturday morning. The dressing is now dressing for cold for the rest of the day today, and right on through Saturday morning. You can see the tips here in the middle of this slide. And then by Saturday afternoon, still chilly. We're going to be stuck probably in the upper 40s to mid 50s for much of the day once we break through the initial cold snap that we're in. Not really warming up much. Those temperatures will still be about 20 degrees below average for this time of year. Hypothermia could be a big deal. We want to make sure people are safe. Hopefully folks have a safe spot to go where there is heat, whether that's a warming center or whether that's another home. Remember, we've gone from mid-80s feels like temperatures on Wednesday all the way down to the mid-20s or lower in the next several hours. That's a 60-degree change in just a day and a half. So that can affect people that are not acclimated without the proper clothing to be prepared. Driving safety, we've added one here for the rain where temperature near freezing on the right, meaning that it's not just drizzle, it could be rain and then form up that ice and be a bit surprising or sneaky, as we like to call it. Otherwise, there will be some pockets of freezing drizzle mixed in. So regardless of whether it's ice pellets, freezing rain, drizzle, even mixed with a little snow, we want people to really be careful if they happen to drive. We'd rather see people really refrain from driving at all between midnight tonight and noon on Friday, particularly in those locations north of the populated valley. But people in the valley need to be concerned and be aware as well. Don't forget your pets, as we mentioned before. Hopefully they're indoors soon, but especially by tonight, as you can see, the feels-like temperatures will affect them as well. The fur does help, but it may not help enough when they're acclimated to the heat that we have down here in the valley. So these are your tips and your temperatures forecast for tonight into Friday. The Pelican watch continues. Usually we need to see some rain on the ground or water on the ground to have them see the Bahia Grande as the highway as well. We haven't gotten the rain yet, which is good, and I think that'll keep things okay for now. But as the temperatures continue to fall and that rain begins to develop, there may be issues overnight and especially into Friday morning, perhaps into Friday noon. So be aware of this and drive slowly if you're crossing Highway 48 between the Port of Brownsville and Port Isabel for the next 24 hours. And for sea turtles, we have the timing now Friday through Saturday morning. The most concerned area is the lower Laguna Madre. That's Cameron County section. There's now an increasing chance for impacts along the immediate shoreline with this colder air lodging in all the way through Friday night. Once again, not a repeat of last year. We had over 10,000 rescues, but we could have hundreds of rescues in the situation we're setting up for. There's a temperature gauge at the Rio Lintos Peninsula, which is in the north side of Cameron, that dropped to 52.5 degrees earlier today. And it's down to 62 in the lower Laguna Madre as we've just begun cooling there. So to get down to the lower 50s is quite likely, and it could sneak at or even slightly below 50 by the time we get to this time on Friday. So we want people to really be aware of the sea turtles, and those on the call or know people who can be part of the sea turtle rescue. It is time to activate for potentially several hundred rescues in the next couple of days. We won't have another webinar briefing with the event underway, but we will try to do some email updates, whether they're slides or an email package, as necessary into January 21st. Thank you all for joining today, and I'll now stop the recording and we'll open it up for questions.